Shalom, everybody. This is Joel Blackford with Blackford Talks Prophecy. And I have a special guest tonight. He wasn't raptured. We thought he was going to be raptured. It's John Haller. You'll appreciate having him on the show. And we just lost him. He's been raptured.
Oh, I know what happened. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Hi.
We've been worried all day, then we
Wait, hang on a second here. I got to shut you off of my.
Oh, okay. Oh, you've got it running on another app. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
So John Haller is a minister's kid, like I am, a PK we call ourselves, and his family comes from Germany, and they have really interesting baptisms and things like that. But what I want him to do is describe his coming to faith. Just a short little story on your faith testimony, and then talk about your father a little bit. You have to extol your father since he was a pastor. So, John, take it away.
Okay, so look, I was raised in the Grace Brethren Church. My dad was a Grace Brethren pastor. I'll talk more about him in a minute, but he went to Grace Seminary, Bob Jones undergrad, Grace Seminary, for seminary. One of his classmates was a guy named John Whitcomb. You may or may not recognize that name. Dr. Whitcomb went to be with the Lord, I think a couple of years ago. He was about 98. He was the co-author of the Genesis Flood with Henry Morris, which kind of launched the young earth creationism movement in the United States. So that was one of my dad's best friends. They served on a board for a long time. So knew Dr. Whitcomb all my life. Interesting man. So dad was a preacher, and it was back in the day when you had a Sunday morning service, you had a Sunday evening service, you had Wednesday evening service and Bible study, and you remember the drill.
Oh yeah.
And then you would have youth group on Sunday night in addition to the Sunday night service.
Oh yeah.
You might have youth group meetings. You might have a Bible study at home. So it was really, we lived in the parsonage for the first 13 years of my life, plus the first 6 weeks. Dad's first pastorate was in a place called Ankneytown, Ohio, often referred to as Ain't No Town, Ohio, because it was like 2 farmhouses, a church, and a parsonage.
Yeah.
And it was not too far from where my wife's family grew up. It was just the next little town up
eastern,
the road.
Western. You're Columbus now.
Yeah,
where in Ohio?
Ankneytown, it would be north of Centerburg, which is about 15 miles from us, which is the geographical center of Ohio.
Oh,
so anyway, so we're in the center of the state, and my wife's family, at least her mother's family, was from Butler, Ohio. They were farmers up there, dirt poor during the Depression and everything. So anyway, so dad was a preacher, and I remember one Sunday, dad, I remember where I was sitting. We had a church, and in the church, I was sitting in the third pew, but the first 2 pews on each side were short. So there was like a big area, and I guess, I don't know if they just figured they would fill it up with people coming forward every Sunday, or I never understood why.
Did you do altar calls all the time? Was that consistent?
That was pretty consistent, but it wasn't anything high pressure or manipulative. You know what I mean? So dad preached a sermon. So where I was sitting on the end of the pew near the center aisle, there was a big grate in front of you. It was a cold air return for the church down to the basement. But if you looked in the corner, you could actually see, and the light was on down there, you could actually see the church social area.
Oh.
And this was the basement where the ceiling was like maybe 7 foot tall. It wasn't the big high ceiling. I mean, when we played dodgeball at the Christian Service Brigade that we met down there, you had to be careful. You had to throw a line drive because you couldn't lob it over to the other side because it would hit the ceiling. So I was sitting there, and dad preached a sermon on hell, and it was so real to me. I know I didn't want to go there, and I was convinced. I did not look, because I was convinced if I looked in the grate and into that area that you could see into this, I would have been looking straight into the pit of hell.
Okay.
So I accepted the Lord that day. I was baptized. We didn't have a baptismal, which is a, you go to some brethren churches today and there's like a giant, big, huge tub in the sanctuary.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
baptism is very important. Triple face forward immersion.
Face forward, which is interesting scripturally.
Immersed, totally immersed in the name
Right.
of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. I remember a story they used to tell about a young boy, and he went in the name of the Father, and he got scared and he ran out of the baptistry. So they talked to him that week, and he came back, and the preacher started in the name of the Father and of the Son. The kid goes, "You did it once last week. I'm done." You know. So I was baptized. It's probably about 10. We went up to a church in Akron that had we didn't have a baptistry at that time at the church. So we would use it up in Akron, south part of Akron, near where my mom taught school. So I lived between Canton and Akron.
Okay.
Closer to Canton, but Akron was, I don't know, 15 minutes away, maybe.
Where all the linebackers come from.
Yeah, a lot of guys. Well, and then of course in Canton you had Canton McKinley. Down the road you had Massillon Washington High School. The McKinley Massillon was a huge high school rivalry. I think it was maybe the first high school rivalry that ever got broadcast nationally, their game. So yeah, McKinley was a big school and a lot of big guys. So
And you played football, and you wrestled too.
I didn't play football.
Oh, okay.
I was in the band. I played trombone because I figured out pretty early on that in football, when you got hit, it hurt.
Yeah.
And I didn't really particularly care for that. You didn't get hurt that bad. I mean, somebody might pull your arm out of socket or something like that in soccer, or in wrestling.
Okay.
But so I was born in Mount Vernon, Ohio. Right in the center of town. It's it's about 30 minutes from where I live now. My dad was a pastor, had a parsonage. It was his first pastorate out of seminary. He made $50 a month.
Ooh.
And they had a parsonage, and then there was a gravel parking lot, and then the church. But at the parsonage did not have running water, except a hose on the porch. So we had a pump in the kitchen.
Outhouses?
Outhouses?
Literal outhouses?
We had an outhouse.
Okay, wow.
And one time there was somebody visiting from one of the missionary boards, and a windstorm came and blew it over on the door.
Oh.
So anyway, so that the church still exists now. I mean, the parsonage is still there. But yeah, the only running water was a cold water hose on the porch.
Oh my.
So we moved when I was 6 weeks old to it was a town called Middle Branch, Ohio. Center Twig, we used to refer to it as. It was the middle branch of Nemeshelin Creek. That's how they got the name for the town. So the town and it was very interesting. So the first church parsonage there till I was about 12 or so. On one side of the street, there were 5 houses. We lived in the middle house. On the other side of the street was a Grace Brethren Church and Little Flower Roman Catholic Church. And then behind there was a kind of a field, and then these giant concrete silos. So I probably have layers of cement dust in my lungs because it would be a lot of cement dust flowing through the air there. It was the smell of full employment. And so we lived in the middle house. The other 4 houses all had people whose name ended in a vowel before a couple of them anglicized it to take the vowel off. So where they went to church. It was Italian.
Oh, okay.
You could go outside in the summer and you could smell the garlic cooking in the kitchens. It was real Italian. So I had the paper route a couple of years, and so I got to know the priest, and
Was your father friendly with the Italians, the Catholics, we'll call them? Was he
yeah, you
cordial?
know what? My sister would invite. So my sister was about 6 years older, and she had a friend, and she invited her to Vacation Bible School. And her friend, I mean, they're like 7. Okay, her friend goes, well. At that time, it was Father Kennedy. Father Kennedy says we can't come to Bible school at your church. And the next thing my mom sees is my sister marching across Little Flower parking lot to the rectory and knocking on the door and giving Father Kennedy a piece of her mind about why would you not want children in your church come to our church to learn the Bible.
Ooh.
And he kind of hemmed and hawed and everything. And then there was a priest that replaced him. And I remember when Dad died back in 1991 that the priest, so the priest came to the calling hours at the funeral home. So, but it was pretty apparent to me that because they had catechism on Saturday, the parking lot and street would be full of cars,
and bingo.
All my friends would go, and I wanted to know what they taught over there, and I've learned pretty early on that what Roman Catholicism teaches is not what the Bible says.
Okay.
They add some things to it. And so I've always been, I mean, look, I have Catholic friends, and I work with them and everything, but I'm pretty clear that that's not true Christianity. I think there probably are Catholics that are saved. Just I think there might even be some evangelicals that are saved, and even Messianics.
Okay.
It's not I got to.
Oh yeah, it's a rough crowd.
So I think, but it's clear that the teaching is false. My mother has an interesting history. I'll just share that. She grew up in Pittsburgh. Her father was the personal secretary for a man that when he died, just after my grandfather retired, I was about 3 or 4. And old man Hillman died in the late 50s. And he was probably worth about $3 billion at the time. He was probably one of the 5 richest people on the planet at that time. Non-monarchy people on the planet. He was a Pittsburgh industrialist, gas and coke ovens, barges on the rivers. Tenneco gas pipeline, I think, was a company he started, or East Texas Transmission. Anyway, now my grandfather we didn't have the money, okay, but my grandfather always had a job. My grandfather claimed to be agnostic. He was big on evolution. He had like but he was a very interesting guy. His father had died when he was about 8 or 10. His father owned a tannery in Pittsburgh. And my grandfather, I mean, he had a library with like the complete works of Shakespeare and those leather bound volumes, the complete works of Voltaire, the complete works of different philosophers.
Voltaire, really?
Yeah, the complete
atheist.
works of
Okay,
Voltaire.
yeah, you're right, Voltaire. Okay, all
so
right.
If you want something to do at night, you could go in his library and pull a book off the shelf, and and he had all the National Geographic books and books on evolution and Darwin and all that stuff. He was tremendous to take a walk with him in Frick Park, named after Henry Clay Frick, the big Pittsburgh industrialist. He's actually buried just within eyesight of my grandfather's grave in Pittsburgh. But Frick, he was kind of a nasty guy. But so that there were extreme uber wealthy people in Pittsburgh. We were not one of them, but my grandfather always had a job even during the Depression.
My grandfather did too, on both sides. Yeah. My one grandfather worked for Land O'Lakes, and the other one was a farm tractor company called Minneapolis Moline. And just to have a job to get through the Great Depression was amazing.
So my grandmother was like, her family had been in railroading And so the family fortune kind of declined as the railroads declined.
Sure.
But she was Miss Uber Wasp. I mean, she had the club, the social club, that type of thing. She went, when she went to church, she went to the big Sixth Presbyterian Church down by Frick Park. But what happened when my mother was in high school, she was not, I mean, she'd only been to church, I doubt, a dozen times by the time she's in high school. And she was dating a Jewish boy.
Oh.
That was scandalous to my grandmother. So she was talking to her friend, her mom's best friend, and she said, "Where are you going to college?" And she says, "Well, I'm going down south to Cleveland, Tennessee, to Bob Jones University."
Oh, Bob Jones. Okay.
And my grandmother said, "Well, Jenny's going to go too." So my mother, as an unchurched, unsaved kid, went to Bob Jones University in Cleveland, Tennessee, out of high school. And the interesting thing about that is now Dr. Bob Sr. had a big revival the first couple nights there for the kids when they came to college. She got saved. But I mean, if you've ever been to Bob Jones, Bob Jones, I actually thought about going there coming out of high school. And it bills itself as the world's most unusual university. At least it did back in the 70s. It was fundamentalist. It was very strict. It was, the girls' dresses had to be a certain length. The guys had to wear ties and white shirts to class and coats. And when my mother was there, now, when mom and dad went there, the year they graduated was the last year that Bob Jones was in Cleveland, Tennessee. It then moved to Greenville, to a whole new campus in Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh, that's why. Okay. Yeah.
And what had happened, though, at Cleveland was that when couples started dating, they would buy giant umbrellas and pray for rain so they could go out and walk in sequence with the umbrellas, and they could hold hands and kiss.
Oh, they were allowed to hold hands.
If the umbrella blocked it, if they didn't get seen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but the interesting thing is, so even my mother, coming from a largely secular home, non-churched, she went to Bob Jones University in 1943, and it shows how the culture then really was pretty close to Christian, because it wasn't culture shock for her to go there, to live under those rules.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the culture has changed so much.
Yes.
It would have been a shock today.
So this is 82 years ago. It was a different world. So a secular, unchurched kid could go to the world's most unusual or most fundamentalist college and not be totally blown back, by what they were seeing or what they had to do.
Interesting.
It's kind of a commentary on culture.
Very much so.
So dad was a pastor when I was 15. Going into 10th grade, we moved to Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and he pastored the First Brethren Church in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, which we lived up on the hill. Church was down in it wasn't the best neighborhood. It was a very working class neighborhood. It was a few blocks from the famous Old Stone Bridge area where, in the 1889 flood, a dam had broken up the valley. Water rushed down. It washed all the houses up against the stone bridge. And this was 1889. They lit things with gas lamps. The gas lamps broke, caught on fire. And I'm thinking there were 3,000 people killed, but most of them burned to death in a flood.
Oh.
It's kind of a weird thing. So up where I live, they actually had an unknown plot because they couldn't identify the bodies back in those days. So they had an unknown plot in the big cemetery up on the hill where there's actually 777 people buried in unknown, in the unknown part of the cemetery. So I grew up with that, and there's been a few floods since then. Just after my parents moved to Lancaster, PA in 1977, I think there was another one. So it's, and on the first Sunday of September, I mean, this is an old school church, brick, wood paneling, 800 seat auditorium, pipe organ,
Ooh,
the
sure.
whole 9 yards, a lot of education rooms. The church closed up on the first Sunday in September.
Oh,
And the church where I was baptized in Akron, I believe, is also closed up.
oh,
It was a Grace Brethren church also. So it's this ebb and flow of churches, This is what
yeah.
happens.
It's sad. It's life. I mean, my father built two churches, but the Methodist Conference hated him so much they threw him out as the first building in 1959 was being finished, and they threw him up to a little Swedish town called Lindstrom. And then he built another building by 1968, and we needed it. Our old church was really beautiful, but old, and kind of the old Swedish style. But anyway, the point is that I'm not sure I could go back to my old Methodist church anymore because my father was very conservative, like your father. And I think we'll compare this story too. I think your father is the reason why you love news so much. You're a news hawk because of dad. Is that correct?
Yeah. So so when dad died, he had 6,500 books in his personal library.
Oh my.
He subscribed to all of I don't know what all the sword and trowel or whatever, a lot of the newsletters, newspapers that came out, some of the fundamentalist ones, although I never viewed dad as kind of a fundamentalist type guy.
Just conservative, probably.
Yeah, he was conservative, biblical. He didn't really give me a lot of life advice. I think the one I really remember was "Don't embarrass me."
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's
I
a
mean,
good
it was
one.
kind of a low bar, I guess. And so I went to high school. I did wrestle in high school.
Okay.
I
Did you
was
go to state? Did
spec.
you any
I was
any
spec.
awards?
I was spectacularly below average.
Okay. Okay.
I won some. I think I lost a little more than I won.
Okay.
I wrestled the heavyweight class my senior year. And it was just sort of a happenstance. Ran into the coach before the season started, and he goes, "Hey, Haller, you can probably be the heavyweight this year." And
Okay.
I'd only wrestled a little bit my junior year. That's all I'd wrestled. And I'm wrestling guys. This is Region 6 in Pennsylvania. These guys, they're doing double leg takedowns and sit out, spin outs, and all this stuff at age 3.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Down in the hills of southwestern PA. So I was at a decided disadvantage. I pinned the guy in my first match, my first varsity match,
Okay.
and I think the coach. I remember catching the coach out of the corner of my eye when the ref hit the mat, and he kind of jumped straight up over his chair and landed behind it because I think he was shocked. So, but I had one of those moments that I don't want to say it was life altering, but when you grow up and you're an athlete, and I was a big guy, and I wasn't I wasn't bad, but I wasn't spectacular or anything like that.
What was your wrestling weight in high school and college?
I wrestled like 190 in college and then 180 to heavyweight in high school.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Pennsylvania had a 250-pound weight limit.
Oh, they did.
So I was probably 210.
Okay.
And I'm wrestling guys that have to make weight to wrestle heavyweight.
Oh, okay. Wow. I'm not used to
I
that.
think my biggest accomplishment in wrestling, I pinned a couple guys.
Yeah.
I got the fastest pin in the last match of my senior year. I actually knocked the guy out. It was 0-0. I was down. The coach came over and he said, "Will you get this over with? You're better than this joker." It was way out in the middle of Bedford County, northern Bedford County. So I got up, I took off, I faked left, I went right, and I hit a standing switch. And this guy was about 6'5".
Yeah.
And he went full face into the mat.
Oh.
And just rolled over. So I kind of knocked him out. But at senior year, I got a very good life lesson. And I was wise enough to see it. You know how you have people come back to your school, particularly if you have a good school and wrestling program.
Oh, yeah.
Guys go to college and they come back at Christmas break. So at Christmas break, I walk in and coach goes, "Hey, Haller, you get to wrestle Gary." And I look over and there's this redheaded guy, 6'5.5", 285 pounds. And I would be overestimating if I said he had 3% body fat. So he goes, "Haller, and he went to Clarion, and he was the number 4, which was a Division I wrestling school in NCAA. And this is back in the days of Dan Gable and the really big guy, Chris, whatever his name was, the huge 450-pound guy at Iowa State."
Yeah. I'll come up with a name eventually. Yeah. Not Chris Hansen, but
yeah. He wrestled in the Olympics. And I remember the Russian guy weighed about 270.
Yep.
He had sort of like whatever that, like bend him right over backwards and pinned him,
Yeah.
Outweighed by almost 200 pounds. So anyway, so he goes, "Haller, you get to wrestle Holsapple." So I look around the room and my friends they've got their hands in front of their faces to hide the laughing.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember he blew the whistle. Holsapple came at me. I tried to block him. And then I remember passing out about halfway down to the mat. He put me in a headlock so tight. So I roll over and get up, and Holsapple jumps up. He goes, "Let's do it again." And now my friends aren't even putting their hands in front of their face. They're just laughing.
Right. Yeah.
So we did that for a while, none of which was successful for me. And then he says, "I'll get in the down position and you take me down. You knock me over."
Okay. Sure.
So coach blows the whistle. Joel, it was like trying to knock over a giant oak tree stump with your bare hands.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like a fly
Right.
on an elephant.
Yep.
And so it was the life lesson I learned was, "Haller, you better bear down a little bit on your academics because no athletic scholarships are coming your way, dude."
No.
So it was a good life lesson. It was kind of fun, and looking back, it's kind of funny.
But wrestling puts you against the opponent. You have to strategize. You have to wipe your nose and get back into the fight. It's a good life lesson.
Yeah. So I probably my other biggest accomplishment, and other than the couple pins I had, was junior varsity. My coach, Wednesday night after practice, or as they're going into practice, I weighed 183. And he goes, "Hey, Haller, do you think you could wrestle 165 on Saturday?" So this is Wednesday night. So I got down to one. I was within a half pound of making weight.
Oh, John.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, in 3 days, I dropped almost 18 pounds.
Oh.
Now I'm a big sweater, so it would not be unusual for me to sweat off 5 to 7 pounds in a 2-hour wrestling practice.
Yep. Same thing with me.
But I didn't drink anything.
Right.
But then coach said, "Do you think you can spit?" I said, "I don't got anything to spit." He said, "Go home and come back for the match." And so I eventually the next week I got down to like 161.
Wow.
So I lost 22 pounds in a week.
That's not healthy.
It's not. No, it's not healthy. It was wrestling though back in the 70s. So
They did that to us.
You were much better than I was.
I went to state a few times and I went to nationals. Yes. But those days are over. So let's move forward.
Okay.
So part of the reason why I love Haller is he does all the news. He does all the research.
I was going to say this. My dad had all those books.
Yeah.
He subscribed. We had Time, Reader's Digest, Newsweek, 3 newspapers a day. Yep. That's where I learned it.
New York Times too, right?
Well, I know we had the Pittsburgh Press and Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Okay. So I don't know if we had the Times. We would get it. I think we got it on Sunday.
But you even read that today. It's unreadable for me. It's just garbage.
Well, there's a way to read it. They have to put the news and facts in there. You just have to kind of get through the editorial part of
You
it.
have to go to page 6 or page 10 to read the facts.
Right. So I do. I mean, I love newspapers. I subscribe to a thing called Press Reader
Oh, okay.
or Press, excuse me, Press Display, and it gets me access to about the replica print edition electronically of about now 7,000 newspapers and magazines around the world. Now I
I
have a few
wondered how you found that stuff because I finally gave up years ago. Our mutual friend Angie said, "You need to watch Haller. He's great." And I said, "No, I don't need another pre-trib guy in my life." She said, "No, he's great." So this is maybe 6, 7 years ago. Started watching you, and I realized I can't dig like you dig. You must have some kind of a service that's feeding it to you.
Well, I've sort of I I've done pretty good of systematizing it,
And
systematizing it
yeah,
on how to review things, how to grab the graphics, how to put them into things in a PowerPoint slide and that type of thing. I have a paper that I wrote. It's been a long time since I updated it, like John's Secrets. I've shared with a few pastors. And I don't know that any of them have done it. I will say I think the PowerPoints I do are probably unusual compared to almost anybody else.
yeah, you are different than the other eschatologists. Most of them, let's admit it, most of them are rapture people. And so they're kind of doing stories that match up with their particular dogma, we'll call it. Okay. And you are more open. And so you'll throw a story out that might conflict with the rapture, pre-trib rapture, and run with it. Whereas those guys can't, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
So look, my father the Grace Brethren are dispensational.
Okay.
My father was taught by his pastor. My dad grew up in Dayton, Ohio, out on West Third. It's not a very good neighborhood now. A lot of the homes that were there when Dad grew up, of course, are like a lot of Ohio towns have gone away. His dad was an electrician, but they were about half a mile from the Wright brothers bicycle shop.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, so that's kind of the neighborhood that he grew up in. But the church was right there at that time on West Third Street, and it's still there today. It's a African American church and Bible Institute. But so his pastor was very good. His pastor was big on foreign missions. Dad served for decades on the Foreign Mission Board of the Grace Brethren Fellowship. And, so, and his pastor was a big Bible prophecy guy. So this back in, the 1920s, he's
Wow.
teaching that Israel's going to be a country.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Think about it.
And then it took down. But he, so Dad taught the same way. And there's certain markers. So I've given them away now or got rid of them when we moved. Dad was very, very disciplined. I mean, he had every sermon he ever did was in a little half-page notebook.
Just like my father.
Notebook.
Yep.
And he would type out his sermon notes. He would put on there when he did it. And then he would put on there reworked for radio in Johnstown, Pennsylvania on this date.
Oh, he would do radio.
Yeah, he did. I was just talking to somebody about this when I was in Rockwall over the weekend.
Yeah, Texas.
And it's very, internet is very strange. I'm sure if people go to heaven and talk about, oh yeah, I heard your kid on YouTube, and he gets a lot of views each week.
Right.
I'm pretty sure my dad would say, are you sure you're talking about my kid?
Right. Yeah.
But he wanted me to be a pastor. I think he was disappointed that I went to law school, but he got over it.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure, I mean, I sort of was looking like the size of his church when he would speak at conferences and maybe speak before a couple thousand people. He did radio in Johnstown and Lancaster, PA. I'm pretty sure that I speak to more people in a month than he did in his whole 40-year career as a
Oh
pastor.
my. Yeah.
It's totally out of, it's just so disproportional, you know.
And people, John is basically pre-wrath.
I
Okay.
am,
And
yeah.
but you're kind of squishy, you know. So when did you flip from absolutely pre-trib to kind of something different?
Yeah, so I could not so I went to the, so I'll be honest with you, like rapture timing has never been that big a deal to me.
Other than today.
Well, yeah. I and I feel bad for all the people who embarrass themselves again. I really do. But I had people posting 10, 15 posts a day in my Facebook feed. Yeah. It's going to happen. We're going home, yeah. All that stuff. And I'm like, if it happens, it happens. That's great. Okay. But I think there's some things that have to happen before the rapture happens. That's where I would divide with some of my dispensational friends and that type of thing. But I'll be honest with you, and maybe it's just because I'm 71 years old now, it's just not that important to me. Because I know what I think is the true doctrine of imminency is nobody knows your exit date or method.
No signs. So no signs. Absolutely. That's what they would argue.
Right. I mean, I don't know if you know Josh and Christine Peck. There was Skywatch TV, and I did a conference and we invited Josh. This is 11 years ago. Christine didn't come because I think she had just had a baby or she was just about ready to deliver.
That baby just died.
He died just 2 days ago. So I had a very extremely rare form of cancer. And I looked at some of her posts from a few days before, and he seems to be doing okay, and he's doing this, and he's getting his diet together, and then he just collapsed.
And he said, "I'm sorry," before he died, and it's like, "Oh, kid, you did so well. You fought so hard."
Yeah, I know. I mean, the kid was really courageous. So I think, I just think that none of us know the day or the hour of our departure. It can come. I mean, how many people do we know who they've gone to work and they didn't come home? They had a car accident or something like that. My wife was engaged before she met me. She was 19. She had connected with a guy she went to junior high with over the break in her sophomore year of college. He lived in Mansfield. She went home for Christmas break. And by the time she went back to college at the end of January, she was engaged and they bought a trailer. They were going to get married in July. They were both 19. And they'd actually been born in the same hospital on the same day in Mansfield, Ohio, and their mother shared a room.
Hey.
They didn't know it. They didn't know each other. They've connected the dots later. But he was killed in a car accident on his way out to Indiana to see her. And so her life was totally upended. There was a lot of there were several hundred, 300-400 guys that came to faith in the Lord or rededicated their lives as a result of David's death. He was a pretty popular guy. So, but he didn't know. I mean, he got up in the morning and he was driving out to see his fiancée in Indiana, and that was it. So, I mean, the stories we have in our own personal lives are just legendary there. So, I sort of I hung out with pre-trib guys, David Hawking.
But just last Sunday, you were with the pre-trib guys.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go to their conferences and stuff. So actually in 2012, I went to the pre-trib study group conference in Dallas. Randall Price, who's a good friend of mine, Bill Koenig.
Love Bill Koenig, whatever. Yeah, love him.
Yeah. And Dave Hawking, I knew Dave Hawking since I was like 8 years old, and He was a big guy, 6'8", big booming voice. He didn't need a mic
Right.
anywhere, and very talented and very systematic. And he went to the same seminary that my dad went to. So, but Tommy Ice, a friend of mine, Bill Watson. I don't know if you've heard of William Watson. He wrote a book on. I think he titled it "Dispensationalists Before Darby."
Okay.
And Bill became a very good friend. We did conferences together, and we'd sit and talk. I mean, and this is the thing: is you can sit and talk to all these people, and you can get along with people,
you do.
You know?
You're highly agreeable. You know that.
Yeah, I mean, but so I used to tell Bill. So what Bill did was he went through. Bill had read all of the eschatology writings of the early church fathers and anything you could get his hands on. The guy was like an encyclopedia. Wow. And so he wrote a book called Dispensationalism Before Darby, because, they try to prove, one of the things they want to prove is that the preacher of rapture has always been around. It wasn't invented by Darby. Sure. And I think there are elements of it that were there. I told Bill, I used to joke with him, I said, I think you mistitled your book. It should have been titled Things That Kind of Sound Like Dispensationalism Before Darby. And we got along great. He died a few years ago. I think he was 69. He just died in his sleep. And but at the end of his talk, it was kind of an interesting, I hope I'm not boring you with this interesting sequence of events. Somebody asked a question in the crowd. You can actually go to the 2012 pre-trib conference YouTube channel, look at the end of Bill Watson's talk. And somebody asked a question of Tommy Ice, and Tommy Ice said, well, the apostasia in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 means departure. Departure means rapture. And by the way, he did a talk at that conference called the coming apostasy. Yeah. But it was interesting. He never referred to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, which is one of only 2 places it's used in the New Testament. And it was only used 4 times, I think, in the Septuagint, Greek. Okay. And it's not what it means. It's such an easy thing to refute, but it has taken over. Well, I don't know. I'll give the pre-trib study group props for having Lee Brainerd talk a couple of years ago where he debunked the apostasy as the rapture. So, it's kind of an academic thing, but I get it shoved in my face all the time, and that's not what it means. And the other interesting thing was in the Q&A after Bill's talk, and this was Tommy Ice responding, somebody got up and said Bill's talk was on rapture views of people in 17th and 18th century Britain.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, and because he'd read all of this stuff, he'd read all of the church fathers. The only guy I know that ever did that. But if you read those guys, and one guy got up and said, well, I'm looking at what you just put up on your slides, Dr. Watson. And if I look at those slides and what those guys said, 7 of the 8 that you cited are mid-trib.
Yes.
Yeah. To which Tommy Ice said, well, we would call them pre-trib.
Revisionist history, maybe?
I don't know. It was sort of like rewriting the chart. And so, look, I'm like everybody else. I want to leave and be with the Lord, but we're here until we're here. And so I don't really care to fight about it. I think there's been a lot of blood spilled over it. And it goes both ways. I mean, pre-wrath and post-trib people can get pretty nasty too. So let's argue about it and let's go have coffee
and that's why they still invite you to those gatherings. You were invited to Dallas just recently because you get along with the guys. And you should be there. I mean, you have a following, you know.
Right. So, but it does impact, how many people will invite me. And when I do say that I'm pre-wrath, um, people sort of express their severe disappointment
Yes.
that I'm off the reservation.
Jan Markell is not inviting you to anything, nor Amir. Amir would absolutely not invite you.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, Jan's a good
Oh, she
friend. I
is.
stopped
Oh,
and spent an afternoon with her in Minnesota a few years back and everything. So look, she has her, I think she's stepping
she
away
is.
from the
She
radio
is. Yeah.
program now. But I love Jan. And by the way, when she did her first live
Yeah.
stream of her
Yeah.
conference, it was our church
Oh,
that did it.
wow. Okay.
We went out to Minnesota and did it because we knew how to do it because we'd been doing it for a couple of
What
years.
year would that have been?
So she brought,
2002?
I'm going to guess it was about
Oh, okay.
2015.
Okay.
We live streamed our first conference with David Hawking, myself, and Jacob Prash in
Okay.
2014. So I think it was so about a year and a half after we did that, we had bought live stream equipment, and we had, one of the guys at the church has developed some expertise in that. So Jan brought us out to Minnesota. Pam and I drove.
Okay.
Brian
Sure.
flew. And Brian handled, I mean, Brian's the guy who did the yeoman's share of the work. I just got to hang out with, I think it was Bill Koenig. And I think Robert Jeffries was there, Bill
Okay. Okay.
Koenig, Jack Hibbs, Amir Sarfati, and Michelle
Okay.
Bachman.
Sure. That's the standard fare. Yeah. That year. Um,
And I know all of them. I mean, Jack's been a longtime friend. So, and I know Amir.
And you're interacting with many of these men on a weekly basis. Hibbs invites you on all the time. Many of the Calvary Chapel pastors work closely with you, and you're not a Calvary Chapel pastor.
Yeah.
But it works. So, quick story. Jan Markell held a conference back in 2005. I think.
Well, I met you at one of those conferences.
You did?
You came up and introduced yourself at one of them.
To you?
We were there a couple of years. I remember you coming up.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't remember that. I'm sorry, I'm rude. Anyway, so the point is, Jan invited Jerry Jenkins, the guy that wrote the Left Behind series, Jerry B. Jenkins. That's it. And
Tim
so they had,
LaHaye.
Tim was the name,
The idea guy.
Yeah, the idea guy, and Jerry wrote.
By the way, he went to Bob Jones with my mom and dad.
Oh wow, LaHaye was a good Minnesota boy. He was a great pastor here. Anyway, the point is, Jerry was asked the question by the audience, and this is the Q&A at the end, and they said, after the rapture, can anybody be saved? And Jerry looked at the audience and said, no. And he got booed by Jan Markell's audience. And I was already fidgeting on the rapture anyway, and that just ended it for me, and I walked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
so,
understand.
I never read the books, by the way. I bought the audio series.
Okay.
Because I was driving around a lot. And I listened to it. It was good, radio drama and everything like that. But, they're...
it's Christian fiction.
Yeah, and it was wildly successful. I think the last I saw, they had sold somewhere in the 65 to 80 million range of books, which is just enormous, huge. Oh, yeah. And, makes people some fortunes, So I had actually met Tim at that 2012 Pre-Trib Study Group conference, Tim and Bev.
He was a wonderful man, a loving, caring, godly man.
And very short. I think he was about 5'3".
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He would have been one of the first guys to go out and wrestle if he was on a wrestling.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Because they always start with the lightweights. Lightweights in terms of weight.
He looked good. He was a handsome man.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my mom was a superb soprano soloist. I'm talking like in the range of like a Sandy Patty type singer.
Yeah. Yeah.
None of which I got. When I was
No.
in junior choir, the junior choir director said to me, it was pretty cruel. But she just said, I'm like 6 years old. I hadn't
Yeah.
learned how to carry a tune or pitch. And
Yeah.
she said, Johnny, it's okay if you just want to mouth the words.
Oh, oh, John. Oh my.
I
Oh.
was pretty cold, and it affected
Oh.
me for a very long time,
Oh my.
in terms of getting up in front of people and singing. I don't have a bad voice, but that it's always in the back of my head, so that was 65 years ago, probably.
Oh
I
my.
haven't forgotten that one, but I think
Okay.
April, that's fine.
So let's head on. Oh, before we head on to the slides, give me some scuttlebutt. Give me some gossip from your Texas conference, or because I love Bill Koenig so much. Tell me what they're thinking is going on in the world. What are they sensing? What's going on?
Well, I think what we're seeing, so I don't know how much I should say. Bill is very close to the former president of a country in South America who was just sentenced to 27 years in prison.
Oh,
He's a good Christian guy, big supporter of Israel.
okay.
And so I think Bill's been kind of focused on that. The Israeli government's putting on a Christian media summit. They bring you over for security briefings, and you have to pay your way there.
Right.
Security briefings, tours of different areas. Like when I was there in late 2022, we went down to the Gaza border, visited some of the kibbutzim that were attacked just 10 months later.
Okay.
We went to the army base down there. So the last I heard, Bill and Tanya, his wife, will be at the media summit. That'd be about 100 to 150 Christian media people from around the world are invited to that.
Okay.
Influencers, I guess they call them.
Well, and they talk to you all the time, and I don't have their ears, so I kind of listen to you, and you tell me what they're working on.
So I would say that Olivier Melnick is a very close friend, and he's working on another book about, Olivier's very good about, maybe unlike me, he stays in his lane.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sort of a generalist.
You are.
Okay?
You are way
I
too
covered a
general.
lot. So like next Wednesday night, I'll be doing another technology,
Right.
technocracy, transhumanism roundtable with Patrick Wood and Scott Townsend and Brit
But
Gillette.
these guys are tech guys.
And I
They're
think
they're covering for you in certain areas. You're not Mr. Tech. They are.
Yeah, and I get, I was talking to somebody at the conference and I said, we need to almost establish at this point, I don't know how to do it. I've been talking about this for a very, very long time. I don't care if I get the credit for breaking news or something like that. I'm more concerned about being right than I am about being first. And I think sometimes in the getting click world of media and YouTube and stuff, people look, if I come out and I'll say, if I put up a video tonight and I said, I think that the story that the FBI that is telling about Charlie Kirk's assassination is probably correct. Okay. Nobody will watch it, but if I can come up, somebody sent me a list. They're up to about 12 theories.
Oh no.
12 different shooters and stuff. And it's like every day there's a new one, and it's absolutely ludicrous. And I see, I just caught a little bit of Steve Bannon tonight. They need to prosecute these guys right away. Why? Where are the prosecutions against the former CIA guy and James Comey and Hillary Clinton? Listen, these cases are highly complex. Yeah. I was a lawyer. And if you think you're going to put together in a few months, you don't know what you're talking about. You're a complete ignoramus. And if they did file a case that quickly, it would be a disaster, and they
are filing,
because those people are all going to lawyer up with good lawyers.
Before I jumped on, I noticed that Comey is probably going to be prosecuted as of tomorrow.
Okay, well, I just saw that there's some decision coming soon, so And so it's like one of these things too. If you're away from your computer for
Right.
2 hours now, the world's
Oh yeah.
changed.
The news cycle's changed.
And
Yeah.
it was so. Um, I met some interesting people in Rockwall that knew I was going to
Yeah.
be there. The conference was sold out, so they couldn't come, but they met me for like breakfast or lunch. And I don't know how one guy's working on a book about a certain religion, but he doesn't know whether he should publish
A
it
certain
because
religion.
he's afraid, because he lives in the middle of it in Dallas. And so just investigating it down there, they've acquired most of the property around DFW Airport.
Oh.
They are building mosques
Oh,
in
that certain
Houston,
religion.
in
Oh yeah,
Dallas,
yeah.
in highly strategic
Wow.
locations. They are setting up madrasas throughout Texas. We will educate your kid for free. Kid just has to promise to do 2 years of politics at the end of when he or she graduates.
Okay.
I'm telling you that it is so systematic. And so when the terror watch comes out the last couple of days that the national security people are scared, I think people really need to pay attention to that because everything that I've seen indicates this. Joel, I remember PM would probably tell you this had to be back no later than 2005.
Okay.
We were connecting through Minneapolis, St. Paul on our way to California.
Okay.
Every person that worked in the Minneapolis St. Paul food court was of a
Oh yeah.
particular religion. That was 20 years ago. It has not changed. So I think that I think we need to understand that there's a huge agenda there, and I clearly think this is part of the most credible end time scenarios that I've looked at. Now, whether this is the Antichrist comes from this, I don't know. I think the Antichrist comes from the Middle
Okay.
East. There are different possibilities there. I kind of get that grid that I
Sure.
use. It's acceleration. Things are happening more quickly. Convergence. Everything's happening at the same time. But then there's a logistics thing, and this is where I kind of get into. I want to say little tips, little discussions with some of my pre-trip
Yep.
friends, where we talk about Babel.
Oh
What
yeah.
is the
Oh
final
yeah.
Babel? Look, our friend Doug Hamp would say, well, it's where Babylon was, right?
It's mystery Babylon,
And
though. That's the problem. The text says mystery.
a mystery Babylon. And so the mystery is it somewhere else? Is it something we don't really know about yet? Or is it a mystery how it came back? So but I look at the logistics. So, people talk about a canal and a port and a highway and that type of thing. But, the port is 350 miles from Babylon,
Right. Yeah,
the
you
ancient
do
site of
Noam or
Babylon.
Neom or whatever it is, the Saudi Arabians.
Well, Neom's over on the other
Right. Yeah.
side. It's moving along. By the way, in my research, I was looking up some things on
Yeah.
Babylon for my talk in Texas, and I came across this guy who wrote about New Babylon in 1961.
Okay.
And when he wrote, he described a technocratic
Ooh,
paradise.
okay. Okay.
And then the schematic, though, it's kind of modern art, but when you look at the modern renderings of Neom, it's the same
Okay.
thing.
Interesting.
So I don't know if there's a connection there too. I mean, look, I have friends who think that Jerusalem is Mystery Babylon. It's Rome, it's New York. So I told everybody I've got a basket for each one of those possibilities, and I throw things in that basket. And I said at the conference, I did say that what I'm looking for is when these different events that we know that are coming, they reach a threshold where we can say this is that which was prophesied. And I don't think
We're
we're
not
there
there.
yet. So, but I think we're getting close on many levels. The AI technocracy, the tech intrusion stuff is very it's amazing. I mean, and I don't think they were tracking people, but TPUSA at Charlie Cook's Memorial, they contacted a company that you can buy this data. Hamas bought this data to see how people move through the kibbutzim along the border, so they could figure out which stores were locked and unlocked. And so TPUSA went to a company that provides that data and said there were 277,000 people in the area of State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona last weekend. So I don't think TPUSA was tracking them, but they were trying to find out how many people were there.
Based off cell phones, when you can just check the coverage and bing.
My wife and I were, so I don't know if it shows in the back. I've got some shelves there, and I have a place for it, but they're a little bit too wide. So we were online today trying to find ones that were 2 inches narrower that will fit. My Facebook feed is full of ads for shelving, garage shelving, basement shelving, wire, plastic, epoxy. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, we have I walk around a lake a couple of times each day, and on the other side of the lake, there's a little park area, and I found clippers there, and I wondered what was going on with the clippers, and I realized that these men that would use the clippers would walk into the woods together and probably hit a grinder site. So I did the Google search on what the clippers were for. I don't want you to ever do it, but now, unfortunately, it's sending me all sorts of, because So there you go.
So it's a meetup place.
It's a grinder place. So anyway, we didn't have a rapture today, people. We recommend that you don't date set. All of John's friends are not date setters. They are rapture people, but they're not date setters. Okay. So let's talk about this. This was interesting. What I'm noticing from the Charlie Kirk death is evil is being exposed. It's staggering, according to this guy, Peter R. Mack, rejoicing over the murder of a father of two who extolled the virtues of humanity peacefully is a display of barbarism and vicious inhumanity. This is a good versus evil. Do you think so, John? Do you sense this is good versus evil?
Yeah, I do. I mean, look, I think that that's an accurate statement. I think that, I don't know when it's going to be in good taste to critique what went on this weekend at his memorial service. There was a lot of good, a lot of things for concern. I myself said the week before, I thought it was probably at some point going to trend ecumenical in nature. And it's a political organization too. It's not a church. He's not a pastor.
He was very similar to my faith, though. I mean, he's a Sabbath guy, Torah guy, I mean, he took Sabbath off. I can't imagine a guy like him taking a Sabbath off.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I know he was a brother in the Lord and everything, and I have friends who were very close to him. I never met him. His wife seems pretty solid. She's, changed from her upbringing. I've seen testimonies of her to that effect. But, it's kind of a big organization. Their budget's $145 million a year or something like that. That's pretty
impressive,
hefty. Yeah, I mean, and so there's going to be a fight for control of that. And, I'm already concerned about, the people that are leading the campus tour. You got a Mormon, you got a Hindu, you got Catholics.
And you have another piece in there, John, the NAR piece, New Apostolic Reformation people.
Yeah, that's kind of a fine line with me because I would say you're not going to find somebody who's more aware of the problems there than I am. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I've been dealing with this for for 50 years, on a personal level, church level, elder level, or whatever. And so the tension is between, we want to do things to help the world be better. We get in politics. You need to enact legislation to protect people. And so I don't think so I disagree with Christians say, oh, you should just stay out of politics. No, 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 no. If you think you should stay out of politics, you stay out of politics, but you shouldn't be, you know, judging other people who think that that's a way that they can help protect children, protect women, protect kids from these, the alphabet mafia that want to change their gender against what God made them. And so but I don't think it's fair. You can say, I don't want to do that. We shouldn't do that. It's not, no, it will help people. Okay. Charlie led people to the Lord, but then where do you cross the line until you think you're building the kingdom of God on earth? And that's where I have a problem. And so you kind of bump up against that line a lot when you get involved in politics.
All right. So this is Protestia. They're a conservative organization. They published about a Baptist church down in New Orleans that is fully the alphabet mafia inclusive. And they said Charlie Kirk is likely in hell. Any thoughts on that?
So one of the speakers at the conference, I don't know if I should name him because he pointed out that what a lot of us, he said it first. So I got to give him credit for that. And the point he made was, very astute point, was that in Revelation, we read about when the two witnesses are killed, there's this big celebration among the world. And he said, and I think he was exactly right, it's hard to imagine how that would happen until you saw what happened when Charlie Kirk got killed, murdered, martyred, whatever you want to call it. Now we know how that will go. And I would say, I mean, I've seen some interviews with Ilhan Omar and AOC and Jimmy Kimmel, and it really is out of control right now.
They're stoking the fires,
you know. And I interviewed Trevor Loudon probably last March. Trevor has been a big proponent of the looking at the red-green alliance, communism, Marxism.
Oh no, you're way ahead of me. I've got that slide coming up. Hold on.
Okay. So I think that's where we are.
All right. So this is a guy named Chris Garretts, and he is from Bethel College, which is now Bethel University. I went to Hamlin. We were part of the same conference. They were Baptists, probably Converge Baptists, if that makes sense to you, John. History professor. All mortal lives are unfinished, but his killer took from him years and decades in which Kirk could have lamented his ugliest words and most destructive deeds and learned a better way. This is Bethel. This is also a seminary. If you know John Piper, he taught there. Greg Boyd also, they fought against each other like cats and dogs.
Greg Boyd, he's
the open theist, right? Oh yeah. But Bethel was always the bastion of conservatism. Now the one weird thing is that this Chris loves Lindbergh. Lindbergh's from Minnesota. Lindbergh was a big Nazi, huge Nazi. So you wonder about that.
He was a Jew hater. Yes. Henry Ford, Charles Lindbergh.
This is a major university in Minnesota, of a bastion of conservatism, supposedly, at least it had been for years. And this professor said that. Now, I will admit it to you people, I did send an email over to his two superiors, and they shot back and said, we love his messages, his blogs, and so he's safe, and our people, we have some conservatives in Minnesota, obviously, and they published this out on Friday last week. And
so didn't Doug Padgett go to that seminary also?
About that?
One of the emerging church guys.
Yeah.
Well, it clearly became a cemetery a long time. It ceased being a cemetery and became a cemetery a while back.
It's interesting. Piper was there, and Boyd, as I mentioned, and other fine teachers, very Baptist. When I went to school, they were much more conservative than even your background or my background. and then that's kind of changed, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
So now this is interesting. This is Protestia again. This is James T. Roberson III, a Baptist pastor, SBC, Southern Baptist Convention of New York City, saying Charlie had a carnal posture, anger and harshness and rage, and that horrible things from Roberson. Have you ever heard of Roberson?
What's his name
James
again?
T. Roberson III, New York City. But he is part of the big Baptist groups. He's part of that's the next page here. Let me just jump to that real quick.
I mean, I think I've heard the name. I'm thinking of James
Right,
Robeson,
yeah, not the same guy. This is an NAMB, so this is the banner of SBC, huge banner. And so
North
Send,
American
yeah,
Mission Board, right?
and Send Network Pastor. So
is that the one that kind of went south under David Platt, who's now at McLean Bible Church in McLean, Virginia? Used to be in Alabama.
I just find it hard to believe that the Southern Baptists would allow this man to say those things and not censure him a little bit. I mean, you can read the quotes from Protestant if you want to.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, it's terrible.
I can understand the witches doing this, but not Southern Baptists.
Well, I just heard about that. Some of the witches were saying a spell against
that's
Charlie
3 slides from now. Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
you're always ahead of me. Well, I expect that. On the right-hand side, this is
but I it's hard to believe, but look, these fellowships, denominations, whatever you want to call them, there's a lot of really bad baggage in them. Even the one I grew up in has some problems. And to be honest with you, we broke with them 12 years ago, and I'm glad I did.
So fellowship is a what? Your place?
We're independent.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
Independent, non-denominational. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, we even struggle sometimes with being part of the local ministers group.
Sure.
Yeah. Because there's some things in there that we just would not deal with. And I mean, look, I've been doing, I was an elder at a big church, and I had major differences with, for example, the Vineyard.
Oh yeah. Wimber.
And maybe the largest Vineyard church in the country is located in North Columbus.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I drive by one every Sunday on my way to our church. It's the local Vineyard. They're all over town now. I mean, they're everywhere you look, there's a Vineyard. There's probably within 12 miles of my house, I'll bet there's 4 or 5 of them. And they draw the mothership draws probably 9 or 10,000. So the big one down in
they're probably getting the college kids too. That Vineyard goes after younger people.
Yeah, my niece ended up at the Vineyard, and I think her friend asked the Vineyard pastor a question about same-sex marriage, and I'm telling you, I've seen nasty emails in my time, and that one's up in the top 5.
Wow.
From the big pastor. So I didn't really know him. I mean, we never connected. Let's just put it that way.
Have you ever heard of J.D. Hall?
Sure. JD's had kind of a up and down some of the last few years with some personal issues. I hope he's doing well.
This is JD. And he says the assassination got what's, these people speaking about got what's coming to them and the carnal way and stuff like that. But then he cites on the other side that maybe the SBC can't be saved. That literally when your pastors are out on these extremes attacking Charlie, who seemed to be preaching the gospel and reaching kids, that maybe it's time to boot the SBC and let it fail.
Yeah, I think I see him mentions Tom Buck
Yeah.
here in the thing, and there's been some up and down issues with Tom Buck. I think he was a friend of Karen Swallow Pryor. He didn't think she was bad, but she was a total disaster. And JD Hall nailed that. I'll give him all the props for that. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, look, so the fellowship I grew up in started to have some problems, and it actually split in 1992 into the one group and a conservative group. And so I had friends in both camps. My dad died the year before that happened because he had been sort of, I guess a big deal when you're Grace Brethren is you're the moderator of the conference. So he was the moderator of the conference in 1970. And it's something you can only be like once or twice in your lifetime. And so he would have been 47, I guess, when that happened. I was between my sophomore and junior year of college. And he died in 1991, just before the split happened. And Mom said later that the split would have killed him. Because he was so committed to the group. He's on the Ford Mission Board. I think by that time I was on the board of the college and seminary. My wife grew up Grace Brethren. I mean, this was like an extension of our life, and to kind of have to walk away from that under the circumstances we did it was painful. I mean, I kind of moved on to something else. Lord opened some doors, but it really hurt my wife. Because her ministry was completely terminated.
Oh, okay.
Well, not because of what she did, but because they didn't like me saying what I said.
Okay, all right. So you ruined it for your wife.
She got caught up in the backflow, so to speak.
And
the Lord opened doors for me that probably would have never opened, but everything she had been working on for years was literally ripped out from her. And the thing that was kind of sad, Joel, was nobody seemed to care.
No.
You know what I mean? So that never really sat well with me. It still doesn't sit well with me because I watched what happened to her.
So you would push for the SBC to stay together and try to correct things and try to reform things, so to speak.
No, they need to get rid of these people.
Okay.
They cannot. These people are not capable of being reformed. I think it's probably gone too far.
And
I don't know. I sort of, my own personal theory is that the seminaries adopted the secular academic model of publish or perish to advance. And I don't know that having to write something fresh and new really works well when you're talking about theology and the scriptures. And so it's led to a lot of really bad ideas. There isn't much new stuff, John.
There isn't much.
So, and look what happened to Bethel. Yeah. I mean, all of the seminaries and colleges did it. Very few have hung in there.
Tough fight. Okay, now we'll move along. The people that are attacking, and by the way, my Messianics are starting to attack Charlie Kirk too, which is interesting to see, but witches also. So this is it. Charlie Kirk dies after Etsy witch's curse. So a couple of days after they pay for the curse, he dies. And they sent messages back to the people stating the curse worked and we expect something like a powerful hex spell or whatever. But it is intriguing. Do you think the witches are cursing people and it's actually working?
Well, we know that, what does Ephesians 6 really mean? Does it mean we really are in a war with spiritual entities in high places? I think there's something going on. I mean, I think it's possible. I don't know. I know what happens. Okay. And I know there's witchcraft. And I would assume people do it because it works.
It has to work.
Or they think it works.
It has to. Otherwise, they'd stop.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I have friends who speak on spiritual warfare and that type of thing. And I rarely have encountered, but have encountered places that feel spiritually oppressive when
Sure.
you're there.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, we don't want to be here. We need to leave. And so I think I don't know whether they did. Certainly, they're going to publicize the fact that they did this. And if we don't think that there's a problem with witchcraft and occult in America, this type of thing is going to cause it to grow.
True. So Equinox Witch Fest. We just had the Equinox a couple of days ago. This is they have kayak events, so they're going out on the water now. And so the Rustic Restaurant and nationally coordinated occult event, covens engaged in ritualistic activity. This is Liverpool, New York, Kirkland, Washington, which is where Costco is, Ferndale, Michigan, and Witch Paddles, Witches on the Water events on the 20th and the 21st in Michigan, and Autumn Equinox on the river. These people believe in this stuff. I mean, they truly, this is from Tennessee, which is interesting. But these witches truly believe that they're making a difference, a negative difference.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Well, look, I mean, I think it's going to grow and grow. And I mean, again, I think this is one of the signs of the times that I think sometimes I think this way, Joel. This is just based on no data, but it almost seems like there's a veil.
Oh yeah, huge.
That is starting to be ripped.
Yes. Or portals, possibly too. I mean, if you really look deeply at Revelation 9, both sections, the fifth trumpet and the sixth, and then Revelation 12, there seems to be these portals that open up and allow weird creatures to pop up.
Yeah, I mean, so some of this stuff is hard to teach about because it's so out of the realm of our experience.
Well,
I don't know that I've ever encountered it directly, but I have very solid pastor friends that have.
Your father probably never preached on spiritual warfare. My father never did.
We talked a lot about discernment,
right?
And stuff that I don't know that we would have called it witchcraft, but things that we saw going on in the extreme fringes of the charismatic movement that in hindsight should only be described as witchcraft.
Yeah.
People practicing witchcraft under the guise
you
of
can't do tarot cards in Christianity. You can't do.
Well, I mean, they're doing it.
Openly.
I see people selling tarot cards at some of these evangelical events. I did a number of talks. I know the people who wrote a book on the Enneagram.
Oh yeah.
It's total occult new age.
Totally. I've read on it. Yeah.
I mean, and one of the reasons for my separation from Grace Brethren was nobody seemed to be concerned about spiritual formation and mysticism and that type of thing coming in. And I'm telling you, Joel, I researched. You do. I researched.
Yeah, you overprepare.
And it was shocking to me, and so this has been going on in my life for 20 years. I mean, and it comes in a subtle way. So I mentioned Doug Padgett earlier. Doug Padgett was more Buddhist than Christian. He would get on and debate John MacArthur on Larry King, and he thought John MacArthur was a crazy wacko fundamentalist. And I think Doug went to Bethel. I'm not sure.
I'll look it up.
I will tell you, So one day I get an email from, I used to teach the singles ministry at this big church we went to. And I get an email from one of my people I taught.
Yeah.
And he said, I know you've spoken out against the emerging church and the concerns about that. I'd spoken on postmodernism in 2001 at our national conference about how it's a very bad thing. And I had pastors, by the way, 24 years ago, I had pastors pushing back saying, you don't understand postmodernism. Right. They're asking questions. That'll be a good thing for the church. Well, how's that gone in 24 years? And so Brian McLaren, Doug Padgett and Tony Jones and some of those guys were big in the emerging church and the mysticism and things that came in. And, you know, Brian McLaren doing a earth-based pagan communion at a conference in Seattle. I had a friend who was there and saw it. And so I spoke out against it. And the guy goes, hey, why is Doug Padgett coming to our young adult retreat this year?
Oh my.
Well, you can imagine how I reacted. And by the way, I didn't stop him.
Okay.
You know, he still came, and it was as bad as you could imagine. And it bothered me. I just don't understand why people who were supposed to protect the flock weren't. That was very troublesome to me. So I started speaking out against it, and eventually they said, you know, it'd be better if you just leave, get out of here.
Okay. Do you remember?
And I did, you know, and God had other plans.
Do you remember Carol Matriciana, who published?
Carol I actually brought her to a conference at my old church.
Okay. So
Carol was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and she became a very good friend. When she was releasing a DVD, she would always send it to me.
She recorded in Matamita, Minnesota, at the church that I was attending, watching them do their yoga stuff. And the pastors all defended it. And so I went to the pastors and said, look at this video showing you. And they watched it and they said, oh, this is all a bunch of lies, you know. And I went there. Okay, I was self-serving. I love to sing tenor, and they put me in at first tenor. So I sang with a 100-person choir with a $1.5 million pipe organ, and I was in hog heaven. Okay. Well, anyway, but then I realized this is all changing. And then in 2009, we had the famous tornado that came through Minneapolis and knocked the Lutheran church people.
Oh, it knocked over the bell tower, right?
Oh, yeah. So I went to the pastors on that too, and I realized my time here is short.
Was that long ago?
It was 2009, yeah.
I was back when I might have still used a blow dryer.
The yoga is coming in, guys. And so John comments on this. 27% of Christians consult horoscopes, tarot cards, and astrology from the Roy's report. Any comments?
Yeah, you know, Carol's with the Lord now. She was an incredibly articulate person on that. I remember when she came to church in her talk, well, we decided that it would be better to do an interview.
Sure, yeah.
Because of women in the pulpit thing. So we did. I mean, it was great. She was fantastic. And as I said, we became good friends after that. But in a response to a question from the audience, she mentioned something about Beth Moore. It was 10 seconds. Like, well, you know, I think we need to be careful.
Yeah.
That caused a firestorm. The pastor had all of the women come to a meeting the next week to say there's nothing wrong with Beth Moore.
Mm-hmm. There's so much wrong with Beth Moore.
I went out to California and I researched it. You remember the big Kumbaya meeting in 2013 with Kenneth Copeland, James Rose.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
And a bunch of people with the Pope.
I saw it. Yeah.
Pope Francis. And Beth Moore had done a big talk at a James Robeson event where she talked about, they're coming for us. They're going to come for us. Well, okay, I'm coming. I'm going to fulfill that prophecy for you, Beth. I'm coming for you because you have no business teaching what you're teaching. And it was those little cuts what's the old saying? It's death by 1,000 cuts.
That's more.
One little cut won't kill you, but 1,000 will.
She,
And that's exactly what happened with Christianity and mysticism and this type of thing. So, but sort of the leading edge person on that was Carol Matriciani.
Carol did a nice job. I'm sorry to hear that she died, but she did what, about 5 years ago, maybe?
It might have been longer. I saw her in California about 2015, I think, and I think it was right after that I remember she was like doing a conference up in Wisconsin, and she was out for a bike ride, and she had an accident on the bike, and then when she went back to get checked, then they found cancer.
That's why. Okay, I didn't know.
And it was fairly. I think she was up in Green Bay doing a conference, and or something, had a bike accident, and that's how they found cancer. So it was a big loss because she was very good. But even in my own church, she had a DVD series that was out that was very good. It was about something about the gates of hell.
Okay.
Right. And in it, she had the gates. It was sort of like a Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah.
The gates of hell open.
Yeah.
In my own church, somebody was using that as a, sort of a discussion point in a class of adults. And we're told that's a little bit extreme. It wasn't extreme to me because that's how I got saved, my friend.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Heaven and hell.
I don't know.
Okay.
I've never been politically correct.
So, no, this is interesting. This is not something you've ever read. It popped up on my feed today, and I just so it's from Mostly Peaceful Jawbone Enthusiast. The Bible has 3 categories of pastors, elders, leaders: wolf, hireling, and faithful shepherd. What these categories look like today are pretty obvious to anyone who's practiced discernment. The wolf is vicious to the right, the hireling is fearful of the left, and the faithful pastor is unapologetically and openly right-wing and is busy equipping the saints for the culture war. Any thoughts on that?
Well, see the 3.
I know you have to think.
Wolf is vicious to the right. The hireling is fearful of the left. So is he criticizing all 3 of them? I guess
not the faithful pastor, obviously, but he's nuancing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Faithful pastor is fine. So he's fighting, but he is openly right wing. And so I made a comment to a Messianic pastor about 5 years ago that you couldn't be a faithful follower of Jesus in Minnesota and be DFL, because I saw the party completely flipping. I mean, just absolutely crazy tune up here. And they stand for abortion, gender mutilation, defund the police, the alphabet mafia, the rights and the word tolerance all the time, DEI initiatives, global warming. Can you join with the left and follow Jesus? Can you, John?
Yeah, look, I think the critique of the right might be that they think that this will somehow, this is where the NAR, dominionism, 7 Mountain mandate comes in, that they're going to make everything perfect so Jesus will want to return. That's a fool's errand. So yeah, I think I would agree with mostly what he says here. My own view of a wolf in sheep's clothing. I actually did a talk in England back in 2018, and I titled it. I took a shadow, the silhouette of a shepherd with the sheep, but I sort of photoshopped in a wolf face, with the nose out, and I called it the silence of the shepherds.
Yes, and
because a wolf in sheep's clothing to me is not a wolf running around with a lambskin on; it's a shepherd who wears sheep's clothing made out of a sheep. So it's a fake shepherd. I think is the way the idiom should be looked, or the whatever that is should be looked at and taught. That you need to be careful with the fake shepherds.
They do get vicious, John.
They do. I mean, look, I have some scars.
Yeah.
You know,
Pam too.
But it. I don't know how to say it.
How about the comment on the top, which is Ecclesiastes 10:2? A wise man's heart inclines him to the right, and the fool's heart to the left. Any comments on that?
Well, I mean, I think that's the way the. I'm trying to go back to my Latin days.
Okay.
I think the word for left was like sinistra, like sinister.
Okay, interesting. I'm sorry, I looked at it in the Hebrew today, and I should have memorized what it was. But yeah, it definitely, it's there in the text in terms of a different direction. It's not just non-right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll spend a few minutes on this. We don't want to start an argument here. John and I agree and disagree. We'll discuss chapter 6 a little bit just because it seems to be going on. This is John's slide, and he's created it. What, this is 414.
It's a wonderful.
It's a wonderful slide. You use it all the time, and so you show the seals on the document, on the scroll, and then basically what I'm getting at is you wouldn't hear the seals open up. They could be the birth pangs. You'd never really admit that to me, but unless maybe you'll change tonight, I don't know. Could the seals be the birth pangs of Matthew 24?
Oh, I think that the first 4 seals do bear a very close resemblance to the birth pangs that are listed in Matthew 24. So I think the case could be made. So the discussion that we have among sort of in the back room is that we have there's a big dispute about the seals when they open. So the traditional thing they would open within that last 7 period year of
but that's not openly stated in any of the chapters around it.
There's no timestamp on a lot of these
things. There is in chapter 11 with the 2 witnesses. We see timestamps, and we see the different day periods and things like that. We don't see anything with the seals.
Well, and so this is the logistics thing. Is I'm gonna confess to you, one of the hardest things for me to understand is, where do these 144,000 come from?
I don't know. They just materialize. Yeah.
I mean, I would think we would be seeing some of this if we're paying attention. You know what I mean? So I just don't think they drop out of the sky. Maybe they do. I don't know. But so there's a big discussion. Is the rider on the white horse the Antichrist? I will say I am not convinced of that.
I'm going to give you my idea, and you won't be able to argue against it because it is occurring. But I would argue that the first horseman is overcoming, and it's more passive. It's not conquering like the word that we've translated. So if it's overcome, there are 2 horns that are killing us right now: the rise of radical Islam and cultural Marxism, and then the word tolerance for both. And you see the 2 people involved. There's number 44 and Hillary. And I believe that's the fall of Western civilization based off Zechariah 6 lists the directions. Revelation 6 lists the horses again. Any thoughts on that?
Right. Yeah, look, I'm not gonna dispute that. I'm more inclined to think that these seals do not have to open within the 70th week period. And I'm telling you, I'm talking to more and more people on all kinds of different rapture timing issues that are seeing it that way. But there's a huge cost to crossing that Rubicon.
Oh yeah, you lose followers just like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, people want good news. And so when you talk about we're going to be here for a lot of this, right. I think the church will be here to identify the Antichrist.
Absolutely.
And so I'm going to get a lot of hate mail on this from listen, I want to get out of here.
Yeah,
I'm like everybody else. I don't like what I see going on, but I'm here until I'm done.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have to engage with this until it happens. And so for example, there's certain things that I don't like. I don't like the term tribulation period.
Okay, that's fine.
But everybody uses it as kind of a shorthand, and I get that. But I don't think it's technically biblically correct. There is a period of great tribulation. Oh, yes. There's a period of the day of the Lord. There is, the revealing of the man of sin. And so I think I'm looking at the witness of the fifth saints, the seals under the saints under the throne and the fifth seal. Okay, so a lot of my friends would say, well, the seals are God's wrath. Look at what's happened. Now, first of all, I think that the 1/4 of the world being killed, I think there'll be a lot of people killed, but I don't think there's a prophecy that 1/4 will be killed. It's a scope of authority of whoever's.
Save that thought. That's right. 2 slides from now. I'll show it to you, not in the Greek, but well.
Yeah. Well, but so when I look at the and I know I'm Doug Hamp. I remember what he says. It's the 1/4 of the surface of the earth is land.
Yes, earth in the Greek. Yeah.
But I look at the saints under the seal, or saints under the throne and the fifth seal, and they're saying, "Hey, Lord." It's kind of an interesting thing because they're under the throne,
under the altar.
Oh, the altar. That's right. I'm sorry. Under the altar. And they say, when are you going to avenge our deaths? I mean, what are they even worried about that at that point?
But
they're told to wait a while until your number is complete. That's interesting. That number is the one that needs to be complete. And they don't know that there's wrath.
No.
Okay. And they're told to wait. It's coming. And then 6th seal, it's announced. So I just think that we have some. I think what I would like to do sometime, if I have the time, is go back and research when these ideas first came into being.
Okay.
Who was the first one? Like, when did this preterism stuff come about?
Oh, that's been around a long time, John. Yeah.
I know, but it did. I don't think it was John. I would think that that's pretty, if it's fulfilled, it's like we have friends that say the 70th week is all over, right? But then again, my point is that's pretty low hanging fulfilled prophecy.
Well,
why did any of the apostles write about that in their epistles? Right. This has already been fulfilled.
Especially John, he would have known by 92, common era.
Well, yeah, but even Paul in the
late 50s and 60s should know, yeah.
And so nobody said that. And so now I'm hearing this new theory. I'm pretty sure you've probably heard of it. We are now in Satan's little season.
I would agree. We seem to be flipping into this horrible carnal time, whatever. It seems to be more demonic. I mean, there's more evil present.
Yeah, but no, but there's what this says is that the millennium has already taken place, and that now we're in that period at the end of Revelation where Satan is released for a short time.
We're close to that.
But Satan has deceived the nations. They've completely rewritten history to hide the fact that the millennium took place. It's a form of preterism, but it's just like, and I get sent so much of this stuff, and it seems to me like this one's really out there, in my opinion. I hope nobody's falling for it.
It's my opinion. This is a Joelism. that the Bush family, the Cheney family, they just kicked everything off east of Jerusalem years ago, and started something. They kicked the hornet's nest, and it doesn't seem to settle down. It just gets worse. Then we had Arab Spring by 2011, so my point is the Red Horse seems to be related to that guy. That's when we didn't need to go to war. There was no really a good purpose. There was no plan, definitely, to go to Afghanistan, Iraq, any of those places, and never make anything better.
Yeah, it's I just don't see how it I just don't understand how people come up with these ideas. But your idea, so look, who was the white horse, red horse, all
Right.
that thing? There was war, there was black horse, there's been financial
Many
trouble.
times.
But I think all of those seals are open. I think a good case could be made, and the intensity increases as we move
Let's
forward.
go back to that slide and
It's
show
never
it.
rolling.
There it is right there. So you're showing the intensity. I totally agree with that. Time, intensity.
Yeah, my chart's probably off because I think that the white horse probably peaks a little bit earlier than that.
I think it's peaking right now.
I'll tell you what, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to represent that.
Well, I like that you tried.
Yeah, I mean, I get A for effort. And but it's interesting, so 44 goes to Egypt in June of 2009. That was the beginning of the Arab Spring. It came, and by the way, and when the Syrian civil war started in March of 2011, it started in Dara, Syria.
Okay.
I was 30 miles away in Israel when that happened. That morning that happened. We're reading the reports about riots in Dara, and that started the Syrian civil war. And now this guy is accepted all over New York that comes the leader, Al-Shara, Al-Jilani, whatever his name is.
I have friends claiming he's the Antichrist.
Well, there are people making the case. Listen, if I came to you with a movie script and I would tell you that 800 guys, this is Putin's own words, 800 guys took over Damascus that was protected by over 40,000 Syrian army soldiers, 850 guys. If I came to you with a movie script for that, you would turn it down because a movie script has to be a little bit plausible. But it unfolded in front of us not even a year ago, and now this guy's being welcomed all over New York. He's going to the White House to see Trump, I think.
He's a terrorist. He's an ISIS terrorist.
I know. I mean, how weird is the world that this would be happening? So this has been and today, here we go. Tucker released his 9/11 video. I've seen parts of it. You know who is responsible? The Jews.
No.
Because that was to make us, and he says right out that that Israel did this so that we would go and fight Iraq. That's completely inverted from reality. Listen, there's this controversy now about Tylenol causing a certain childhood condition, right? Somebody suggested the other day, can't explain why Tucker's doing this. Somebody said, well, maybe he's taking too much Tylenol and he has sudden onset autism.
Okay. I think he's being paid. I can't remember exactly.
Well, you would hope that he's being paid. You would hope that he's not that stupid or that evil. I mean, saying that he's being bribed to do it is sort of the gracious thing to say.
I'm blanking on the exact persons that funded him in the first place years ago, but they're nefarious. And now we're We're eating the grain from the
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. But look, I've had insiders at Fox say this has always been a problem of his. You just weren't allowed to talk about it. But I don't understand why TPUSA is platforming him. I don't understand it.
either. And
Call me up and ask me or explain it to me, and then we'll talk about it. But I don't understand why this is happening. Why I kind of do, but it's sort of like what's the old say? What did you think the end times would look like? And people say, well, what do you think is going to happen before the Lord returns? And I said, well, at least everything that's happened so far.
there you go. That works.
And probably a lot more. I just think that I don't know if we have a ways to go, but things seem to be happening awfully quickly. I mean, look, if you want to make a case on Zechariah 12 or 14 and the nations against Jerusalem, you have a pile of evidence from the last week, just the last couple of days.
Now, this gentleman on the right-hand side with our Federal Reserve is leaving in a few months. But I believe the Federal Reserve has caused inflation in our country, and it's just going up and up and up.
Well, he'll pass the scales to the
There
next
you go.
guy.
Yeah, the scales.
And who knows what it's going to be? I mean, it's I tell people be transactional with Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's going to do some things you like and some things you don't. And there's things I don't like. I think he told it. I think I heard him say today, he told Netanyahu, don't you dare do that to Qatar again or attack any of these other countries. Because so here's the big meeting with all the Muslim country leaders at the White House, or I don't know, in New York or wherever. I don't know where it happened. And there's a picture about the big tables and the flags and all this stuff, the Muslim leaders. And then there's a picture of the European leaders sitting on chairs in the Oval Office around the desk. Is this kind of an interesting juxtaposition?
I would claim that our Federal Reserve is run by European bankers and that they don't want us to do well. They want us to have inflation. And we'll see. The lower left-hand side is a certain doctor that ran our medical system for a number of years, and I blame that as the fourth seal. Now, am I correct or not? I don't know. But disease has increased since he's taken his control.
Yeah, look, that thing that we fought for a few years, that was a real thing. And the treatments they proposed were worse than the disease in many cases. Exactly. Look, I had friends die during this because of the way our pastor 5 years ago yesterday. 5 years ago this week.
Oh.
Because I was talking about it I think it was September 20th or 21st that he passed away in 2020. And I remember, I have vivid memories of that. I mean, that's like probably at the time my closest male friend in the world, or one of them.
And then,
anyway, they gave him that drug in the hospital and it was over.
On the lower right-hand side, there's a donkey there, and violence is both sides' issue, where he's turning on the lighter and turning up the temperature of the national temperature. It's my picture of the fifth seal.
Yeah, I think that's going on. I mean, look, the National Terrorism Center has just issued, in fact, somebody just sent me a new terror threat alert against Christian churches.
Should happen more, yeah.
And it's a YouTube video. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but my friend Pete Garcia just sent it to me. And this is a real threat. I mean, look, you need to review your security plans. We have security at our church. it's a huge problem. I've spoke at churches, that are both politically active and prophetically speaking on these issues, and it's a very big problem.
It's getting worse. The temperature is increasing. Somebody's increasing the temperature. Now, is it Satan? Is it demons? Is it the donkey? I don't know.
It's hard to say. I think that certainly it's coming. It's only a matter of time. And so, but I'm telling you, already the narrative has been created. I follow these groups on X. If something happens in the United States, it's a Jewish false flag.
Always. That's what they always say.
But I'm just telling you, it's so pat now. It's hard to grasp.
We won't cover the sixth seal because that's too technical, but I believe it's a micronova. Let's just, for the fun of it, John, let's look at this real quick. Because they're in pink, so you can see it very quickly. The
Sure.
two words for gay is earth, okay? And you can see them underlined and in green, deep green. And they are, in Revelation 6, verse 8. But if we look at the references of death, it is a chloros horse, which is a first sign of death, I claim. And then the second one is his name, Thanatos, death. So that's the second reference to death. The third one is Hades, which would be the place of departed souls, death. The fourth reference would be the name of that particular plague is called death, Thanatos again. Then, to kill. That's apotenu, which is a death reference when it says kill. And then the fifth is a Ramphea sword, which would be a death sign again. The sixth would be lemo, which would be crop failure, and people die from that. Then death, Thanatos again, which is his name and also what he brings. The seventh sign, and then the eighth would be Therion. So basically, there's 2 references to gay here, and 8 references to death or something like death. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so this is one of those things where when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to say this is
Right.
that. Some of this stuff is we're going to be, oh yeah, that's what that was. So yeah, I think, and then we have to avoid the temptation to plant our flag too quickly, like we saw this week with the 923.
Oh yeah.
It's September, and people are saying, oh, Charlie was killed at 12:23 Mountain Time, which is 9:23 in Jerusalem. I mean, that's kind of divination stuff. It's really not permitted, and people need to avoid doing that in the future. So it's hard to say this is that. I don't know that we're at that particular.
So everybody
point.
knows there's 2 schools based off these verses that are either a quarter of the earth, which John believes and Doug Hamp believes, and then people like me that believe it's about death because there's so many references, direct and indirect, to death.
Well, certainly I think there will be a lot of death. I just don't know that the 1/4 of the earth is referring to the number of deaths. And by the way, I'm sitting here with an article open on my PDF. It was in the Epic Times this morning. And it's something that I talk about. I don't know anybody else talks about it, is the world demographic crisis.
Oh, yeah, horrible.
And how does this play into, because it's collapsing everywhere.
Horribly.
Yeah. And
in Asian countries too, Singapore.
Right. Japan is toast.
Yeah.
I mean, and so is China. China is beyond, and it can't be changed.
When you only have men, they didn't allow the women to live, they aborted them. You're going to have a crisis in China at some point in time.
Well, but they're not having, their population is declining. They can't produce babies. And I've read that the number of sex selection, the excess males in India and in China is between 150, is approaching 150 to 200 million.
Mary.
Males of marriageable age that have no hope for a partner, a female.
So you might as well start a war because you're never going to have a hope to get married.
This is the country that's had the largest, quickest, fastest decline in female fertility over a decade in human history. This is from their own reports. Iran.
Oh yes, Iran is horrible. Yeah.
How does this all factor into this end times when we look at Ezekiel 38 and 39 and the wars and the answer is we're in uncharted territory. We make charts, but we're in uncharted territory.
Okay.
And so I can't say that your thesis of Revelation 6 is off. I'm not going to say that.
You're pretty open to these things. So we play a little bit, not much because we're so late tonight, but it's called Pin the Tail on the Antichrist, which proves that we don't know who the Antichrist is. And so this is from the Times of Israel. John, you've chided me that I shouldn't cite them. They can say some brutal things. This is from...
Oh, no, they're very open. They allow crazy people to write for them.
Anti-Israel activists protest at UN after wave of Palestinian statehood recognitions. Is the United Nations in New York City the beast system of Revelation 17 and 18?
I think at best it's maybe part of it. I'm not a New York City is Mystery Babylon
I'm sensing that.
Well, the problem I have with some people is everybody seems, I see this tendency, everybody wants to advance the clock.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They want to be the one to say, okay, I'm seeing the last grains of sand drop out of the hourglass of the end times. And then all this stuff is going to blow up. And, I've been hearing from some people that it was last October was certainly going to happen. The destruction of New York and the United States.
Okay.
Now, is that maybe going to come? Yeah, it could come. But I'll just say I'm kind of a realist. I don't think Russia's done all that great in Ukraine.
They've killed a lot of...
At the rate they're advancing, they will take over Kyiv within the next 100 years. That's how slow they're
so
going.
many Russian soldiers too. I mean,
1 million.
That's what we're hearing. And we can prove 200,000, but it looks like 1 million. Yeah.
I think you can probably prove 300,000 dead.
Yeah. Now you can. Yeah.
And double that and it's bad in Ukraine too. I mean, I've got friends in Ukraine, and it's a bloodbath. I don't know. Well, you weren't alive during Vietnam.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I tracked it.
Okay. So I had a pretty high draft number when the draft stopped. So I was going, but then, they pulled out. So I didn't, assuming I would have passed the physical with bad knees, but that's another thing. But, that was 55,000 guys. Yeah. You're talking 6 to 15 times that just for Russia. It's insane. And so I just, Douglas McGregor will tell us every week that, Ukraine will be finished in 2 weeks, as he has for the last 3.5 years. So I think at some point we got to be realistic. Now, I'm told and I also see this Mystery Babylon destruction coming near the end anyway. I just don't think you get to drop it into the front part.
No, you don't get to. No, it takes time. Yeah.
Yeah. But it says it's going to come down in an hour. So, and what does that look like? I don't know exactly what it looks like.
Either. This is from Israel 365 News. UN schedules Gaza meeting during Rosh Hashanah, an unprecedented case of religious exclusion. So they're angry because they couldn't even come to this. They were all celebrating back in Jerusalem, and the United Nations pulled a fast one on them. Any thoughts about this meeting?
Look, this has been a big put-up job by the world elites that hate Israel.
Okay.
I mean, this whole Palestinian thing is so absurd. Let me give you one example.
Yeah.
So I was watching this dialogue going on between a Israeli guy and somebody whose family came from, it was, let's say, Nablus. The Jews kicked us out in 1949. We had to leave Nablus. And the Jewish guy goes, that's absurd. The war ended in 1948. Jordan was in control of Nablus in 1949.
True.
Your beef is with Jordan.
Right.
And you can't even present facts to people about what happened. And I would say, in Christian churches, I would have this argument with people.
Sure.
They are not capable of reasoning about it any longer. And that inability to reason, it's a Romans 1 judgment, and it operates on many, many, many levels. And we see it all the time. And I think I said this weekend at the conference in Rockwall, it's not getting rolled back till Jesus returns. We're past the tipping point.
Are any of these people the Antichrist?
Well, I'm pretty sure that Ursula von der Leyen and Giorgia Meloni are not.
You're correct.
Absence massive surgical intervention.
Right.
I will tell you,
Has to be a man.
I love Giorgia Meloni.
Oh, love her.
Okay. I mean, her eye roll, like to Macron and that type of thing, is epic.
It's like Sophia Loren. It's just beautiful.
She's so, and she can't hide it.
No.
So I don't think it's Zelensky. I don't think it's Starmer. Well, when I look at that cast of characters there, my reaction would be, I think the devil could do a better job.
Okay.
So I mean, look, a lot of people think it's Trump. And somebody sent me an email recently. Could Trump be the rider on the white horse because he's running around doing peace? We'll make a peace. We'll do a deal.
True.
And Macron, there's the famous Economist cover from 2016 of him walking on water.
Yes.
I photoshopped that to where he's dressed in a Napoleon suit and sinking into the waves, sinking into the ocean.
That's funny.
So by the way, I did this. I don't think I can pull it up quickly.
Okay.
In my talk, and I'm using, I do those chess pieces.
Yeah, you do. You love those.
Yeah, that's sort of because it's a big chessboard. Everybody's moving around on.
Yeah.
So I have my chess piece with France. It's bowing. It's wrapped in the flag with the Eiffel Tower on top with a white flag, and it's bowing.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. And
they're always bowing in France.
I did it. I don't think I've ever used it, but I had the NATO meeting a number of years ago had it had a big smooth floor. So I photoshopped in a chessboard floor.
Sure. Yeah.
And they had all the leaders standing there around this big video post.
Yep.
And on the video post, I photoshopped in Trump doing his little YMCA dance while they were all standing there. So
could this guy be the Antichrist?
Look, he's not gone away.
No.
A lot of what happened during the what I called the Biden administration was I have no doubt that he was orchestrating it behind the scenes. By the way, did you see the Hall of Presidents now in the White House, the pictures?
Well, I saw the picture of Trump with his mugshot, just kind of outside.
Right.
Of
but they have all the other presidents, but when you get to the
Okay.
spot for Biden, it's an auto pen.
Ah! No, I did not see that. That's great.
No, it just was making the rounds today. It's true. I mean, so, and you got to love that speech that Trump gave at the UN yesterday. As one of my friends said, it was egocentric,
Yeah, it was
belligerent, and probably spot on most of the time.
Well, that they shut down the escalator on him. You know the teleprompter was on
Right.
purpose.
Yeah, they said he was rambling like he couldn't read the teleprompter wasn't working. I heard they've uncovered emails among staffers that said they were going to do this.
Oh yeah, it makes sense.
But so look, is it Obama? I don't know. You know, as we're talking in the I saw the next one with Elon Musk.
Yeah, yeah,
It's kind of an interesting name. And by the way,
yeah.
you see
Hell,
this thing with Putin.
Yeah.
And they had a big Putin's got a very mystical religious side to this whole thing in Ukraine.
Eurasian. They truly believe the world
Alexander
was
Dugin.
Yeah, Dugin. Yep. Been
Great
following him
Eurasian
forever.
thing.
Yep.
So and they had a big conference in Russia, in Moscow recently, about Russia 2050.
Yep. Saw it.
And Alex Jones was there, George Galloway, Jeffrey Sachs, Lavrov, all these guys. And guess who else was there?
Ooh.
Errol Musk.
Errol was, he's still alive. You're right.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. The technocrat.
Yeah. So I probably need to wrap up. I got it early.
Okay. All right. So basically, and then I assume he's going to die soon, so I don't think he'll be the Antichrist.
Well, that's always a logistical thing, is you got to add like 7 years to each of these guys. And are they going to, I mean, like, is Trump going to be around that long? And Charles, but that was a very creepy. That's
disgusting
picture.
Yeah. And then
I'm sure you've seen it inverted.
Oh yeah, I've seen it inverted. This is the last slide. So we'll let you go. But basically, my theory is that the 10 horns are technocracy. They're the 10 big tech billionaires. And that's from Revelation 17. It works well within the text because we see the mind, the nous being listed in the Greek there. And then it flips out in verse 12 to the gnome, which would be more like programming. So any thoughts on big tech billionaires?
I think it could be. This is a distinct possibility. I mean, it says it's 10 kings that haven't had a.
Oh, yeah. Host is in there in the Greek, which means that it's like a kingdom, but not really a kingdom.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
So, I mean, this is growing so fast. And, like Harari did that thing at Google 10 years ago, and he said, I love coming to Silicon Valley because it's here that the religions that control humanity in the 21st century are being created.
You got it. I've heard you
what does that mean?
Yeah, that's scary. That's really
and I mean, and he's been silent for a couple of years, but now he's doing all kinds of interviews. And Peter Thiel is running around holding seminars and talking about the Antichrist and end times and Armageddon all the time.
That freaks me out. I mean, and he's close enough to the truth too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably off on a little bit of it, but the power that they have, and I mean, this is very, so I think that Mondo and Geary might see something that a lot of us are just not quite up to speed with them yet, but I think that it's very true.
Yeah, it's funny. They happened upon this in 2021-ish, about the same time I did, and it just makes sense.
Yeah.
You know? It's not going to be the fuddy-duddy guys in Europe. We're a global society.
Yeah. Well, it's great to talk to you.
Thank you. This was fun.
You did come up, and I'm positive in that big church in Eden Prairie.
It was the big church, and I was there year after year. So
you came up and said hi to me. I specifically remember that.
All right. Wow. Good memory. Okay.
Well, it was such an important event in my life.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Anyway, thanks, Joel.
Thank you, John. Thanks for
what you wanted.
This was perfect. Thank you. Take care. God bless.